guys, Michael Furlong and Malcolm Sloan from the Real Estate Resource Group here talking about, it's part of the Kickstart program. Malcolm, good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Good afternoon, Michael. Very, very good.
That's what I like to hear. Now, we've just been having a bit of a chat about some of those key dates, some of those really important dates for property owners that have swimming pools or spas that they need to be aware of. And you've got a couple of key little points that you want to run through, and maybe something for the property managers to either explain to their owners, or most certainly they need to make sure they're protecting themselves. So my friend, take it away. Good afternoon. Introduce yourself and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's Malcolm Sloan of Pool Barrier Services. I'm a licensed building inspector, pool safety, and we conduct pre-compliance and compliance for swimming pools and spas across Victoria. Now,
Malcolm, sorry, if I can, I'll come back to you in a second because I'm really keen to know the pre-compliance and the compliance. So we'll come back at the end if you don't already cover it, because I'm interested personally to understand how that works. But sorry, mate, I didn't mean to interrupt, but two really important points.
Exactly. Now, the main point is that all swimming pools and spas should have been registered by the 1st of November last year. Now, we know that many haven't been. So if any haven't, they really need to be registered urgently, because otherwise fines will start to be applied. The councils haven't got to it yet. The fine is $365. So it's very important to do that. Now, the reason for the compliance is that we need to know what year that the property was built, so then we can apply the correct Australian standard, because it's split into 4 different Australian standards, which is quite confusing instead of having just one Australian standard. So if the older pools that were built before 1994, they're the first that have to be attended to. Yep. And I think we're saying in the last session, there's over 80,000 of those alone in Victoria. And we believe there's only about between 6,000 and 7,000 possibly done so far. Now, they've got to be done by the 1st of November, which is not that far away. No. And then you've got the next group, which is built between 1994 and 2010. There's another 80,000 there, and then a group after 2010, which is another 80,000. So it's a significant amount of pools that have got to be done over the following 4 years. And if you miss deadlines, it will be, the councils and will be actually pushing for fines, because that's the only way they can really make people put it in place.
And Malcolm, this is administered by councils, or is it that who within a council department? Is it the planning department that follows this up?
The building inspectors. Building department. Yeah, the legislation has been put through by the state government, and the Victorian Building Authority are the ones who oversee it.
Sure.
And it's been passed to each individual council to have their own register. So, and what they do is they work out how many pools, where the pools are, and they do know where most of them are. So, if a lot of people think, oh, maybe they don't know about it, so I won't do anything, but they'll end up coming around and getting it.
It's not hard to do a flyover, is it?
Well,
they've sent drones.
Yeah, a few of the councils are doing that already.
Yeah,
and I've heard that already. So, but the facts are, look, there's really 90% of the barriers fail first time, which is a real problem. And that's because we're really dealing with the old pools. They were all built pre-1994, never been inspected. And just as time's gone by, trees have grown, panels are broken, gates don't close properly. So they've got to really be attended to pretty quick.
Sure.
Because if we go out and see that there's that it's not compliant as an inspector, then we have to give them a improvement notice, and sometimes an emergency order, especially if it's to do with locks, which could mean you only get 7 days to get it fixed. Otherwise, if you don't get it fixed, then the council get involved, and then other fines could come from there.
So Malcolm, your reports are then lodged with council. Is that what happens, or they're lodged with the VBA?
With the council. So
council, yeah.
There's 2 ways we do it, which was talking about the pre-compliance and compliance. Is we can do pre-compliance where we do a report, which is not bound under the Building Act, but if it's with an inspector, it has to, and it goes what's called a 147G, goes to the council and then they can act on that, which is really a Form 24. So
sure.
Now, though, if the improvement notice is issued, yeah, they can get 7 to 60 days to remedy the breach, and also the inspector will have to re-inspect, and there will be fees involved in that, unfortunately. As I said before, there's in excess of 240,000 to be done, and of those, as I mentioned before, we don't believe that many of them have been completed in this group so far. So from there, also there's many SPAs that the council aren't aware of. So if you have got SPAs, they really need to be registered straight away. Otherwise, if it gets past the deadline, then there will be issues with that as well.
Okay.
And look, I've been mentioning fines and things, but fines are really what is driving to get people to really complete this project, because that's just not happening. Where the fines for if you're not in a barrier in place is really $8,110, and there's a significant amount of those, about 6 fines that total that altogether. It's got to be properly maintained. It's got to be operating correctly. And the doors and gates always have to close, and make sure it closes immediately. So
Malcolm, can I just go back to those? The sections, you've got the sections there of the Act, but what, is that the Building Act?
Yes, it is.
The Building Act. Okay, that's fine. So, and can I ask a tricky question? Have you updated those fines to the new penalty units or the old penalty units?
That would be, it's a current penalty units.
Because they went up, I've got it sitting here in front of me now, because I was staggered. It went up by 10% on the 1st of July. It's $181.74 per penalty unit. So it's extraordinary. The government's trying to make some money some way, and it's all through fines.
Oh, well, yeah, no, you're right, Michael. I wasn't aware of that. That's these are at $165, which was the old one.
Okay, so I've just informed you, my friend, it's gone up by 10%. So well, that's nearly $9,000 for 147C. All of them, they're nearly $9,000, because it's, I look at the same thing for the Residential Tenancies Act. Some of the fines for owners are $11,000, and for real estate agents is $55,000 for one breach. It's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Yeah. So it's the Building Act. That's the one I'm looking at. 147. Thank you.
Yep. Correct. Yep. So then from there, there's really 5 tips to ensure the business is not at risk for 2021.
Yep.
The first thing is really to audit all your rental portfolio, identify where the pools are, and also any SPAs, any illegal SPAs. You really need to notify all of your owners their safety requirement, and get a copy of their council registration form, so you know that it actually has been registered. Then collate all the owners' council registration letters into your CRM. Yep. And then engage pool barrier services, so we can assess the risk. And this is where we were talking before. The pre-compliance is the best option first, because that way you get a 12-page report. You're not under the time restrictions as if we said the inspector.
Sure. And
from there, you get the guarantee that if it did fail for any reason, then the pre-compliance department would pay for any re-inspections. I'm finding a lot of property managers are getting just an inspector out, it fails, then they come to them and say, look, well, what do we do? And really it's not the inspector's responsibility to help them. And they say, well, it's not really our problem. Here's a report, you work it out, which is not really ideal for property management. Then once it's done, once it's actually completed, you've got to ensure that the Form 23 compliance is lodged with the council, and then add that to your CRM. So then you know in 4 years' time that you'll have to redo the whole compliance part of it again. Now, it is the responsible pool barrier for the owner's responsibility, and you really got to make that the owners aware that they have to actually make sure that their property is safe and secure.
And Malcolm, with regards to the 4 years, is that irrespective of when, that's 4 years since the last inspection, is that irrespective of when they do the registration, when they do the first inspection? So if it doesn't meet November this year and they're late, it's just then 4 years from the next one? Is that what happens?
Yeah, that's how it'll work, yeah. See, and that's what's happening is a lot of owners are believing it's best to leave it closer to the compliance date to then have it action. But the problem is that in 4 years' time, we're going to have the same backlog again, because I doubt whether they're all going to get done.
Yes. Well, not if there's 74,000 to do between now and November, and you've had 2 years to do them.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely.
Okay. And anything else on there, Malcolm?
No, that's everything I'm doing.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for sharing those. I think you've enlightened me on those. I wasn't aware of them, particularly some of the potential fines. So I wasn't aware of those fines at all. But I sometimes think, and I talk to business owners all the time about carrot and stick. And, in this scenario, get it done early, be organised, carrot. Don't do it, cop a fine, stick.
Absolutely. You nailed it in one there, for sure.
So, Malcolm, how do people get in touch with you? What's your website?
It's poolbarrowservices.com.au.
And if I can make a suggestion, it's probably, if all the emphasis is going to be between 1st of November, it would be advantageous to try and get in touch with you now. You're just saying you're doing 6, 8, 10 a day at the moment. I'm sure it's going to keep ramping up all the way through to November. So good time to be calling you to get their agency organised now. Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's time. We really can't leave much longer at all.
Beautiful. Malcolm, thank you very much for sharing with us. It's been some absolute great. It's highlighted for me, and I've been doing this for a long time, highlighted for me, so a couple of things which I needed to know. Thank you very much on behalf of the Real Estate Resource Group.
That's great, Michael. Really appreciate it. Thank you.